Welcome to the Get Starting video for Exponent Extension Library's new extension, the SQLite Explorer. This will be a quick overview. It won't be in great detail, but just to give you a sense as to what this new extension is capable of doing and how it can aid you in your investigations. We begin with a new instance of Xways and a new case file. Typically, you could have data within your case file from an image file, but in this case here, we're going to show you how to examine a database outside of Xways on your local system, but it analyzed using the extension within Xways. So we'll begin by going to the Tools menu. We run our extension. Up will come our About box here in a second to confirm our license, and then we have to shrink this down here for our video. So here is the new interface for Exponent version 2. And you can see we have our extensions listed in the library. We locate the SQLite Explorer here. We run the extension. And we're going to shrink this back down to our window. From here, we can open up a database from our local system. Here we have a Google Chrome history file. And as you can see on the left-hand side in the database pane, we have all our tables listed. Here's our downloads. We can break it down to the individual columns. If we want to actually just query certain columns, we can do that. And you can see the data pane over here under the table tab updates the content accordingly. Moving on to the columns tab, you can see how the table on the left is constructed. It shows the column field types and the data types. And then we move on to the SQL tab, and here we can see the definition that's driving the contents of the table tab. You can customize this as you wish. We can simply say select star from downloads and then go down to execute, and it updates the columns accordingly. Moving back to the table tab for just a second, you'll see some navigation tools at the top. You can change, you can move from row to row. You can change the page number. And on the bottom here, you can see how many, along the status bar, you can see how many pages there are in your record set, the total number of records, and so forth. The other thing you have here is the auto-fit columns. If I check that, it just widens all the columns so that you can see it better. If you want to remove that, you can just simply refresh the content and it goes back to the way it was. And so that's the table, the columns, and the SQLite, or sorry, the SQL tab. Moving on to the designer, you have the ability to bring tables into view from a database that might not have referential integrity built in, meaning the person who created the database created tables with foreign keys but didn't actually create the relationships between them. So with this visual builder, you have the ability to bring in tables, and this is helpful for mobile device data stores where you need to draw a relationship, create joins. So we can do that by simply highlighting the ID and linking it together. Then we can select the columns that we wish. And as you can see, as we did that, it populates the SQL tab below. And if we want to see the data results, and go to the data tab, and here are our results there. Finally, if we move over to the forensic tab, this is a forensic feature currently in development. We have the first stage completed. And what this allows us to do is map, go through the actual database at the binary level, the byte level, hexadecimal level. And you can see here we've pre-populated the header. And what does this mean? Well, if you need to see, for instance, the size of the database in pages, we can put a check mark there and it highlights the bytes within the database itself. As you can see, there's a select few items here. We will be expanding this so that you'll be able to recover B-tree pages and lost and deleted records. And one quick note before we go back to our table. If we select records here off to the right, you'll see some preview, and you'll be able to click on the link. If it says do nothing, it's not going to do anything, but you have the ability to then preview it live. and it'll try and fetch that record out on the internet. If I try and click a couple more, so here's winzip.com, and it'll take you directly to that website. So this is a nifty little tool. The other really cool thing that I'll show you is I'll go back to the downloads for a second. And if we take a look at the start time column, you can see that it's a Google Chrome timestamp. Now that's not very helpful. So we have the option to check the table and go up here and convert the time columns. Now what this is going to do is it's going to go through the selected tables, identify columns that are of the Unix timestamp format or Google Chrome, and automatically convert those to a proper readable time. Now you'll notice as this is being performed, in the bottom left you'll see the red start time 2 in the tables pane. And what it's doing is it's creating new columns within the existing database and then converting the timestamps for all the records. Now I should point out, and most importantly, we are not modifying the original database. From the very onset of opening up the database, SQLite Explorer will create a copy. And from that copy is where all this work is being performed. Once this is all done, you can then save a copy of this database someplace else. And what is nice about that is it'll preserve these new columns that were created. And from there, if you scroll over here, you can see we have the proper time formats. This allows you to query dates and times properly. So this is a quick overview of the SQLite Explorer extension. Some things you can do here is just some modification on how you view the data. Thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you in future videos. If you have any suggestions on tips or what you'd like to find out more, we could be happy to do that. Look for more videos that go into more of a deep dive on this, and we are working on a major update to the Forensic tab due out hopefully late September of this year. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you in the next video.